Something followed me. Home 2014, Arizona. I was going through a rough patch back then. Lost my job. My girlfriend left. I started taking long hikes alone just to feel something other than sorry for myself. This one trail I found was off a dirt road about an hour outside Flagstaff. No sign, no cars. Just a gap in a barbed wire fence and a path that looked like it hadn't been used in years. That was fine by me. I didn't want to see anyone anyway. First hour was peaceful, hot, but peaceful. Then I started noticing the bones, small ones at first, rabbits, birds, then bigger ones. A deer skull with the antlers still attached, sitting right in the middle of the trail like someone placed it there. I stepped over it and kept walking. Another mile in, the trees got thinner and the rocks got bigger. I was climbing now, not hiking. The trail was barely visible, just a few footprints here and there, and not fresh ones. That's when I heard the whistle. It was low, 2 notes, like someone was calling a dog. I stopped, listened, nothing. I took another step. The whistle came again, closer, same 2 notes. I looked around, no one on the trail ahead, no one behind me, just rocks and dead trees. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. I kept going, but slower now. My hand was on my pocket knife. About 10 minutes later, the trail opened up into a small canyon. The sun was starting to go down, casting long shadows across the rocks. And in the middle of the canyon, I saw something weird. A pile of sticks, but not random, stacked together in a dome shape, like a small hut. Big enough for a person to crawl inside. I didn't get close. Something felt wrong. The air got colder. The birds went quiet. I turned around to leave, and the whistle came from directly behind me. Not 2 notes this time, 3 notes. And they weren't random anymore. They were a tune I knew. It was my mother's lullaby, the one she used to hum when I was a kid. I spun around. There was no one there, just a coyote, standing on a rock about 20 feet away. But it wasn't moving like a coyote. It was standing perfectly still, head tilted too far to the left, eyes locked on mine. Its eyes were brown, human brown. I stared at it for what felt like a minute. Then it opened its mouth, wider than a coyote should be able to, and let out a low, guttural sound. Not a howl, not a growl, a whisper. I couldn't make out the words, but I heard my name. I ran. I don't remember the hike back. I just remember falling, bleeding, getting up, running again. I didn't stop until I reached my truck. I sat there for an hour before I could start the engine. I never told anyone about that hike. What was I going to say? A coyote said my name? But here's the thing. When I got home that night, I checked my boots before going inside. There was dirt on them. Red dirt, Arizona dirt, and stuck to the dirt was a single hair, long, gray, not from any animal I've ever seen. I threw the boots away, but I couldn't throw away the feeling that something had followed me home. "2005, Wisconsin, back when I was 9. Every summer our family went camping with the Johnsons. My dad and his best friend Bill would take all us kids on what they called snipe hunts. If you know what that is, you know it's just a prank. They'd send us into the woods with bags and then scream and scare us half to death. I loved it, every year. But this one year was different. It was the second night. The sun had just gone down. My dad gathered all us kids, there were 6 of us that year, and told us he'd heard a snipe behind the old oak tree near the creek. He handed me a flashlight and told me to lead the way. We walked about 10 minutes into the woods. The flashlight beam was weak, bouncing off the trees. I was trying to be brave because my little sister was right behind me. Then we heard it. A crash in the bushes. Bill jumped out wearing a plastic mask covered in red paint, screaming that a snipe had got him. All the kids screamed and ran. I ran too. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran until my legs gave out and I collapsed behind a fallen log. I sat there for a few minutes, catching my breath, trying not to cry. That's when I saw it. It was crouched behind a tree about 30 feet away. At first, I thought it was a dog, a big one. But then it stood up. It stood up on 2 legs. Its body was wrong. Its arms were too long. Its skin was gray and patchy, like it had been burned and never healed. Its head was bald except for a few tufts of black hair. And its face, God, its face looked like someone had tried to melt it and then given up. But its eyes were clear, bright, human. It was looking right at me. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I just sat there behind that log, staring at it, and it stared back. Then it smiled. Not a friendly smile. A smile that said, "I know where you live." I heard my dad calling my name in the distance. The thing's head snapped toward the sound. Then it looked back at me, tilted its head, and took one step forward. I screamed. My dad found me 2 minutes later, curled up behind that log, sobbing. He carried me back to camp. I told him what I saw. He said it was just a coyote. He said I was just scared from the prank. But I know what I saw, and I know that coyotes don't smile. Canada. 11 years ago. My wife and I bought a cabin in British Columbia. No roads, no neighbors for miles, just trees and silence. It was everything we wanted. We had a small garden, a few chickens, 2 kids. Life was simple. Life was good. Then things started happening. Small things at first. Tools missing from the shed. Scratch marks on the door. The chickens would go quiet at night. Not sleeping quiet, but hiding quiet. Then one night, I woke up to the sound of something walking on the roof. Not an animal. Animals don't walk in a straight line like that. Step, pause, step, pause, all the way across the roof from one end to the other. I grabbed my shotgun and went outside. Nothing, no tracks in the snow, nothing on the roof. But the chickens were all dead, their necks broken, their bodies arranged in a circle. I buried them the next morning and didn't tell my wife. A week later, I was chopping wood about 50 yards from the cabin when I felt someone watching me. I turned around. A deer was standing at the edge of the tree line, just standing there, not eating, not moving, just staring at me. That's not normal. Deer don't do that. They run when they see people. I stared back. The deer didn't blink. Then I noticed its legs. They were too long, its body was too thin. And its eyes weren't deer eyes. They were too round, too aware. I raised my axe. The deer didn't move. I took a step toward it. The deer opened its mouth. A sound came out. Not a deer sound, a whisper, hoarse, dry, like someone who hadn't spoken in years. "Run!" I ran. I grabbed my wife and kids and drove 3 hours to the nearest town. We never went back to that cabin. I told my wife we left because of the wolves. But there are no wolves in that part of British Columbia. And wolves don't tell you to run. It's been 11 years. I live in a suburb now. Nice neighborhood. Good schools. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm taking out the trash, I see something at the edge of the streetlight. Something standing just outside the light. Something watching. And last week, my daughter asked me, "Daddy, why is there a deer in our backyard?" There's no woods behind our house, just a fence and a highway. I looked out the window. There was nothing there. But on the grass, pressed into the mud, were footprints. Not deer prints, human footprints, barefoot, too long, too thin. And they led right up to my daughter's window.